Alright, so this DC power supply is common online. This one is 10 amp, 30 volt. Sometimes you'll run into a problem where it's not working right or it's erratic. And I got online and I did some checking to see what might be a problem with these, being that there's so many of these, but they're all, pay no attention to this because 20 variations and different labels. Same unit, different labels. Some are probably or can be or may be built better than others. And some probably, if you look at a situation where they had a whole run of them that may not have been soldered properly or something might have not been correctly done, that they sold for a very cheap price and then somebody buys them and repairs them and sells them for a profit. Which is okay too, because that's like recertified, and I bought recertified and I've been very happy with everything. A laptop, a weed whacker, brand new weed whacker, a $50 weed whacker that was recertified, and it's commercial grade, and I only paid, $50 for it. Okay, so here's the power supply. Here's the common ground that everything online that I looked for to repair one of these was sometimes a bad solder joint in here. That something may have not been soldered properly. So I went through the whole unit. I had videoed this and dumped everything. And I'm kind of sorry I didn't save some of it, but suffice it to say, I pulled out this board, I pulled out this board, and I checked everything. I found maybe one or two little points that maybe could have been the problem, but it wasn't. And everything I found online pertained to faulty soldering or a bad capacitor, and in this particular case it's not that. What we've got here are these potentiometers, these potentiometers, that when you plug it up and try to run something, it's erratic and it overshoots, it undershoots. Sometimes you can get it to stabilize, sometimes not, but everything on here is soldered very well. So I'm thinking to myself, everything else seems fine. When I'm sitting here trying to get a voltage and I play with this and I'm constantly, fudging around with these dials, let's check the dials. So that's what I did. I pulled, I didn't go ahead. I took all the knobs off first, and you have to unscrew all the pieces, and then this pushes right through, and I'll show you what I used. When I got these out, I mean, this made it brand new. This of course is electrical connection cleaner, quick drying formula. It's good for electronic equipment. You use it on any volume knob, potentiometer, people who work on amplifiers and clean up the knobs and everything. Anything with something like this that's rotary. And there's a little crimp right in here where there's kind of a hole. And then right back in here, which if I were to point to it, would be right in there, there's also another gap, air gap. If I can quit shaking. So there's an air gap there, and there's a gap right in here and down here. And I take this and I spray it, and I work it back and forth, back and forth. Let it drip out. Don't be afraid to waste a little bit. And then spray it real good again. Whack, and I do that all the way through all four of these. Then I let it dry, and then I came back and I did it a second time. And I probably wasted, out of this can, let's say it's full up to the red, I probably used a total of about an ounce or less, because I mean it was worth a shot. And amazingly enough, this thing has absolutely centered in. I don't know how these get dirty. I don't know what causes them to become erratic. But nonetheless, I ran through them 2 times each, and they were really stiff, and they're real smooth now. I don't know if that denotes anything or not, but this is what you want to check also when you look around. Excuse me. When you look around the board, you know, and you check for solder joints, which is a possibility. It could be the problem. But this is where you want to wind up. When everything else looks fine, the caps don't look blown, and all the solder joints look really good, jump right into these little guys and clean them up, and make sure you use something along this line. And it's got to be an electronic cleaner. So let's put this all back together, and I'll show you how smooth it operates. I'm kind of sorry that I dumped the original video, but I thought, you know what, this thing's screwed up. It's cheap. I only paid $50 for it, and I ordered me another one from Banggood, and it doesn't hurt to have a couple of them, which I'm looking forward to having 2 of them, because sometimes I'll be running 2 projects, or maybe I'm charging some batteries and I need a quick voltage real quick. I want you to be able to see this. I mean, the first video that I dumped, the current was all over, the voltage was all over. I couldn't fine tune anything. Check my wires, make sure nothing's touching, which isn't going to hurt anything because it's a switch mode power supply. Turn it on. Smooth. Okay, let's go for 2.5. I want 2.5 volts. Well, it's enough to fire it. So let's bring that up. And you see the fan kick in. Look how smooth that is. Oh my gosh. I've been fighting this for a couple of weeks trying to figure out, is it going bad or should I buy another one? Well, yeah, I should buy another one. And no, it wasn't bad. And then it gives me my current reading that it's using. So at 3 volts, it's using approximately 0.2 of an amp. So let's get it back together, and I'll see you on the other side of putting this together. It's a point of reference here, these little nuts that go on. I can start them easy enough, but they go down into a pocket. So I got me a little chopstick and I shoot it down a little bit. That kind of helps, because I'm going to tell you, it's an absolute nightmare to use anything like this when you're starting off screwing it in. You want to hold behind so you don't put too much pressure on the front plate. Pull out the big guns. Now that my power supply is back working, I'm going to go back to what I was doing, and I just recovered some batteries from a laptop, the flat pack type, and I wanted to charge them up enough so I could store them until I need them. And that voltage is going to be 5 volts, because this little circuit here will charge them properly without overcharging or undercharging. Let's bring this up to 5 volts, and it might drift just a little bit. That's 1.5 amp. Now another thing, let me shut this off for a second. I was going to tell you why I don't use the ground. Reason if I ever need it, for something like this, I don't need to worry about it being grounded. But if I'm using something that's connected to a transformer, or that's connected to the mains in some respect, then I can always flip this little guy over and I've got ground. There you go. As always, I hope you learned something. I know I did.